You've been told a lie. The lie is that once you cross 50, your desire fades, your body changes permanently, and you'll never feel sexy again. That is false. I'm here to tell you that biologically and psychologically, women after 50 can experience more powerful arousal, more satisfying intimacy, and more energy than they did in their 30s. The problem isn't your age. The problem is that no one ever explained to you how your body actually works after menopause. That's what I'm going to do today. I'm a gynecologist, and I've worked with thousands of women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond. The number one frustration I hear is this: I love my partner. I want intimacy, but I don't feel the spark. My body doesn't respond the way it used to. And here's the truth: nothing is broken in you. You are not defective. What's happening is a series of predictable, measurable shifts inside your body that no one bothered to prepare you for. Once you understand these shifts, you can take specific steps to reawaken desire, sensitivity, and confidence. Let's start with hormones, because hormones run the show when it comes to sexuality. By the time you reach menopause, estrogen production from the ovaries drops dramatically. Estrogen is the hormone that keeps vaginal tissue plump, elastic, and lubricated. Without it, you may notice dryness, a feeling of fragility, sometimes even pain with intimacy. But here's the part that most people don't realize. Estrogen also fuels blood flow, and blood flow is what makes arousal possible. Without blood rushing into the pelvic region, the clitoris doesn't swell, the vaginal walls don't expand, and the sensations you used to feel don't fully ignite. Now, estrogen is not the only player. Progesterone also falls, and while most people only think of it as a pregnancy hormone, progesterone has a calming effect on the nervous system. When it's low, you may feel more restless, anxious, and less grounded in your body. That matters because arousal requires safety. If your nervous system is constantly on edge, your body can't shift into the relaxed state needed for intimacy. And then there's testosterone. Yes, women produce testosterone too, mainly from the ovaries and adrenal glands. Testosterone fuels libido, motivation, and even orgasm intensity. After menopause, testosterone production can fall by 50% or more. That doesn't mean you're doomed. It means you need to understand that this drop is part of the puzzle. Testosterone is why some women notice they stop fantasizing about intimacy the way they once did, or they don't initiate as much. But when testosterone is supported, either through lifestyle, nutrition, or medical treatment, desire often returns. Now here's a critical point. Hormones don't operate in isolation. They interact with your stress hormone, cortisol. Cortisol is the single biggest saboteur of desire. When cortisol is chronically high from stress, poor sleep, or worry, it blunts your body's response to estrogen and testosterone. In other words, even if you had enough hormones, high cortisol would shut down your desire. This is why so many women tell me, "I'm exhausted, I'm busy, and sex feels like work." That's not you. That's cortisol hijacking your brain chemistry. And that brings us to the brain. Desire begins in the brain, not in the bedroom. Studies using MRI scans show that arousal activates the limbic system, the emotional center of the brain. Neurotransmitters like dopamine and oxytocin surge when you're aroused. Dopamine is the anticipation chemical. It makes you want. Oxytocin is the bonding chemical. It makes you feel connected and safe. After 50, dopamine pathways can become less responsive if you don't stimulate them. But here's the good news. The brain is plastic. That means it can be retrained. With specific daily rituals, things I'll explain later, you can literally rebuild those neural pathways, reigniting the brain-body connection that fuels desire. Before I reveal those rituals, let's go deeper into what's happening in your body. Because knowledge is power. You can't fix what you don't understand. Vaginal tissue after menopause changes in a condition called genitourinary syndrome of menopause, or GSM. The walls become thinner, less elastic, and sometimes even pale because blood flow decreases. Nerve endings may become less sensitive. This is why lubrication takes longer. It's not because you're not in the mood, it's because the tissue physically requires more stimulation to respond. Think of it like this. When you were 25, your body was like a car engine that roared to life with just a key turn. After 50, the same car still runs beautifully, but it needs a longer warm-up. If you understand that, you stop blaming yourself, and you start working with your body instead of against it. Now here's a detail no one talks about. Vaginal pH changes after menopause. Before menopause, pH is acidic, which protects against infections and supports healthy bacteria. After estrogen drops, pH becomes more alkaline. This shift not only affects comfort, but also smell, lubrication, and confidence. Many women silently feel less sexy because their body feels different. But these are predictable changes, and they can be addressed with the right strategies: nutrition, probiotics, and sometimes medical therapies. You don't have to live with it. I want to pause and foreshadow something important. In a few minutes, I'm going to tell you about a simple 2-minute nighttime ritual that I give my patients. A ritual that directly improves blood flow, reduces dryness, and retrains the brain to respond to touch. But before we get there, you need to understand the foundation, because unless you grasp why your body feels the way it does, you won't believe that change is possible. And belief matters. In fact, the placebo effect in sexual health studies is astonishing. Up to 40% of women report improvement just because they believe something will help. Imagine what happens when you combine belief with actual proven strategies. That's when transformation happens. Let's talk about circulation. The pelvic region is packed with blood vessels, but as estrogen declines, those vessels don't dilate as easily. This is why exercise, especially strength training and yoga, becomes non-negotiable. When you move your body, you increase nitric oxide production. Nitric oxide is the same molecule that drugs like Viagra work on. It relaxes blood vessels, allowing more blood to flow. That means more sensitivity, more swelling, and ultimately, more pleasure. I've had patients tell me that after just a month of daily walking and light weightlifting, their arousal improved more than with any prescription. Movement is medicine. And yet, most women are never told that their gym routine could be the very thing that makes intimacy enjoyable again. Another critical factor is pelvic floor strength. The pelvic floor is a group of muscles that cradle the bladder, uterus, and vagina. When these muscles weaken, as they often do after childbirth and menopause, blood flow decreases and orgasm intensity weakens. But when you strengthen them through Kegels, or even better, through coordinated pelvic exercises, you dramatically improve arousal. Why? Because strong pelvic muscles contract more powerfully around the vagina during orgasm, and that contraction sends signals to the brain that amplify pleasure. In fact, some studies show that women with stronger pelvic floors report twice the frequency of orgasm. That's not coincidence. That's biology. But here's the twist. Overdoing Kegels can actually backfire, causing tension and pain. That's why I teach women not just Kegels, but reverse Kegels, learning to relax as well as contract. That balance restores circulation, sensitivity, and comfort. Later in this video, I'll walk you step by step through a simple pelvic exercise routine that you can do in under 5 minutes a day. And yes, it works even if you've never exercised before. Let me circle back to hormones one more time because I need you to understand this clearly. Your body is not shutting down. It is shifting gears. Estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone are declining, yes, but your adrenal glands, your brain, and even your fat tissue continue to produce hormones. What that means is that your body is still capable of desire and arousal. It's simply operating under new rules. The mistake most women make is playing by their old rules, expecting the same spontaneous desire they had at 30. But spontaneous desire is rare after 50. What emerges instead is responsive desire. the kind that wakes up once you begin intimacy. This is not a flaw. This is the design. When you understand that, you stop waiting to feel like it, and you start creating the conditions that allow desire to awaken. That shift alone has saved marriages and reignited passion for countless women I've treated. And I want you to remember this. Sexy is not something you either have or you lose. Sexy is a state you create, and the body is ready to respond when you give it what it needs. In just a few minutes, I'll share the foods that act as natural aphrodisiacs, the daily ritual that reactivates sensitivity, and the exact bedtime routine I teach women over 50 to feel alive in their bodies again. But first, you need to see how nutrition directly fuels desire, because what you eat every day is either building your sex drive or shutting it down. Now let's talk about food, because every bite you put in your mouth is either pushing you closer to desire or pulling you further away. Most women over 50 don't realize how strongly nutrition influences sexual health. They'll blame hormones, they'll blame age, they'll blame stress, but they won't look at what's on their plate. And yet, when I change a patient's diet, their libido often shifts within weeks. That's not a coincidence. That's chemistry. The first thing you need to understand is blood sugar. High blood sugar caused by refined carbs, pastries, or sugary drinks damages blood vessels and reduces circulation. Remember, circulation is the fuel of arousal. When your blood vessels stiffen, they cannot dilate to bring blood into the clitoris and vaginal walls. That means less swelling, less lubrication, less sensitivity. So if you are eating sweets daily or leaning heavily on processed foods, you are literally numbing your own body's ability to feel pleasure. On the flip side, foods rich in antioxidants and polyphenols protect your blood vessels. Dark chocolate, real dark chocolate, 70% cacao or higher, boosts nitric oxide and blood flow. Leafy greens like spinach and kale contain nitrates, which the body converts into nitric oxide as well. Berries, especially blueberries and pomegranates, are loaded with flavonoids that improve circulation. I call these foods desire foods because they prime the body for responsiveness. If you want to feel sexy again, you need these foods daily, not just occasionally. Let's go deeper. Omega-3 fatty acids found in salmon, walnuts, chia seeds, and flax seeds are essential for hormone production. Hormones are made from cholesterol and fatty acids. If you're eating a low-fat processed diet, you're depriving your body of the very building blocks it needs to produce testosterone and estrogen. That's why I often prescribe a tablespoon of ground flaxseed in the morning or a chia pudding at night. It's not trendy, it's chemistry. There's also maca root, a Peruvian plant that has been used for centuries as an aphrodisiac. Modern studies show maca can increase sexual desire in postmenopausal women. Why? It doesn't increase estrogen, but it does influence the hypothalamus and pituitary, the brain centers that regulate hormones. In simple terms, maca signals the brain to be more responsive. I've seen patients notice improvements in energy, mood, and even vaginal lubrication within a few weeks of daily maca. It's not magic, it's biochemistry aligning with tradition. But here's where many women go wrong: alcohol. They believe a glass of wine helps them relax, makes intimacy easier. And yes, in the short term, alcohol lowers inhibitions. But physiologically, alcohol blunts nerve sensitivity, decreases vaginal lubrication, and disrupts sleep. Over time, alcohol raises cortisol, which, as I've already explained, kills desire. So while one drink might make you feel loose, consistent alcohol intake guarantees lower libido long term. If you want to feel sexy again, alcohol is not your friend. Now, let's make this practical. I promised you a daily recipe that functions like an aphrodisiac. Here it is. Take 1 cup of unsweetened almond milk, half a cup of frozen blueberries, 1 tablespoon of ground flaxseed, 1 teaspoon of maca powder, and a small square of dark chocolate, melted. Blend it together into a smoothie. This is your libido smoothie. It fuels hormone production, improves blood flow, and primes your brain chemistry. I've given this to dozens of women over 50, and they come back telling me they feel a difference in energy, mood, and yes, intimacy. Drink this in the morning or as an afternoon pick-me-up, and you're nourishing your body toward desire. But food is only half the equation. The other half is movement. And this is where the real transformation happens. Because nothing reawakens the body faster than blood pumping into the pelvis. You've been told to walk for heart health. That's good. But for sexual health, you need more than just walking. You need strength training. When you build muscle, you increase testosterone naturally. Testosterone isn't just for men. Women with higher natural testosterone have stronger libido, more energy, and more confidence. And here's something fascinating. Studies show that women who lift weights experience increased vaginal blood flow, even if the workout only lasted 20 minutes. Think about that. A short, focused workout literally primes your body for arousal. Yoga is another powerful tool, not just because it stretches the body, but because it teaches relaxation and awareness. Remember, arousal requires relaxation. Poses like bridge pose and hip openers directly increase circulation to the pelvis. Even more, yoga reduces cortisol, that hormone saboteur we talked about earlier. I've seen patients who add yoga 3 times a week report not only less stress, but stronger orgasms. That's not spiritual fluff. That's measurable biology. Lower cortisol plus better circulation equals more desire. And then we come to the pelvic floor. I touched on this earlier, but it's worth repeating. The pelvic floor is the gateway to pleasure. Weak pelvic muscles mean weak orgasms. Strong pelvic muscles mean powerful orgasms. But here's the catch. Most women either don't do pelvic floor exercises or they do them incorrectly. The standard Kegel is a contraction, as if you're trying to stop urination midstream. That's fine. But if all you do is squeeze, you create tension without flexibility. The key is balance, contracting and releasing. Think of it like training any muscle. You don't just clench your fist all day, you open and close it. That's what your pelvic floor needs. Here's a simple routine. Contract the pelvic muscles for 5 seconds, then relax for 5 seconds. Do this 10 times. Then reverse it. Push outward gently, like you're trying to pass gas for 5 seconds, then relax. Do this 10 times. This combination of Kegels and reverse Kegels restores both strength and flexibility, improving circulation and sensation. Just 5 minutes a day can transform your experience in the bedroom. I promised you earlier I'd reveal a forgotten exercise that can dramatically improve arousal. Here it is: squats. Yes, the simple squat. Why? Because squats engage the largest muscles in your body, the glutes, quads, and hamstrings. When these muscles work, they demand massive blood flow. That blood flow doesn't just go to the legs, it also floods the pelvic region. I've had patients add just 20 squats a day to their routine, and within weeks, they reported increased sensitivity during intimacy. Squats are free. They take less than 2 minutes, and they send blood exactly where you want it to go. But movement isn't only about the body, it's about the brain. When you exercise, you release endorphins and dopamine. Endorphins make you feel good, relaxed, and less stressed. Dopamine creates anticipation and motivation. Remember, dopamine is the wanting chemical. If you feel like you don't want intimacy, chances are your dopamine system is sluggish. Exercise is one of the fastest ways to jumpstart it. So every time you work out, you're not just building strength, you're rewiring your brain to want again. Now let me foreshadow what's coming. We've covered hormones, circulation, nutrition, and movement. The next piece is the sensory system. Your skin, your nerve endings, your ability to feel touch as pleasurable. After 50, many women say, "I just don't feel as much." That's because sensitivity can dull with hormonal shifts and reduce circulation. But there's a way to retrain your sensory system, to wake up those nerves again, and it only takes 2 minutes a day. In the next section, I'm going to walk you through a ritual that reactivates sensitivity and teaches your brain to associate touch with arousal again. Most women have never been taught this, and yet it's one of the most powerful tools you can use. But before we go there, let me remind you of the core message. Your body is not broken. It's adapting, and every adaptation has a counter strategy. Hormones shift. You can support them with food, movement, and rituals. Circulation declines. You can increase it with exercise and nitric oxide-rich foods. Desire feels dormant. You can awaken it by retraining the brain. Nothing is lost. It's just waiting to be reactivated. And when you learn how, age stops being a limitation. It becomes an advantage because you now understand your body better than ever before. One of the most overlooked reasons women feel less sexy after 50 is not hormones, not circulation, not even stress. It's sensory decline. The body's ability to feel pleasure depends on healthy nerve endings and the brain's interpretation of touch. After menopause, reduced estrogen and circulation mean nerve endings aren't as responsive. That's why what used to feel electric can now feel muted. It's not in your head, it's in your nervous system. But the good news is this: just like muscles can be retrained, so can nerves. Your skin is the largest sexual organ. Every square inch of it is covered in nerve endings that send messages to the brain. The more often those messages are sent, the stronger the pathways become. But if touch is neglected, if intimacy is rare, those pathways weaken. It's like a road that hasn't been used in years, overgrown, hard to travel. The signal still exists, but it's faint. You need to clear the path again. And the way to do that is through deliberate, daily sensory training. I promised you earlier a 2-minute daily ritual to reactivate sensitivity. Here it is. It's simple, but it works because it combines neuroscience with physiology. Every night before bed, take a natural oil, coconut oil, almond oil, or even vitamin E oil, and apply it to your skin. Start with your arms. Slowly stroke the skin with your fingertips, varying pressure from light to firm. Then move to your chest, your stomach, your thighs. The goal is not arousal yet, it's awareness. Notice the different textures. Notice how your brain interprets pressure, warmth, and movement. By doing this daily, you are retraining your brain to pay attention to sensory input. Within weeks, you'll find touch feels sharper, richer, more pleasurable. But don't stop at oil massage. There's another step. Introduce temperature play. Alternate warm and cool sensations, maybe a warm compress on your thigh, followed by a cool cloth. This contrast wakes up nerve endings and increases blood flow. Many of my patients are shocked at how alive their skin feels after just a few sessions of temperature contrast. It's not sexual yet, but it primes the nervous system so that sexual touch later is far more powerful. Now, let's connect this to intimacy. One of the biggest frustrations women over 50 express is that foreplay feels rushed or mechanical. They say, "I don't feel turned on quickly enough, and my partner doesn't understand." This is where sensory training changes everything. When you've been practicing daily touch awareness, your body is already primed to respond. Your nerves are awake. Your brain is tuned in. So when your partner touches you, the signal is amplified. What used to feel dull now feels charged. That's not magic. That's sensory reactivation. There's another layer to this, oxytocin. Remember, oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It surges with skin-to-skin contact, gentle touch, cuddling, even massaging your own skin releases oxytocin. Oxytocin lowers cortisol, calms the nervous system, and makes arousal possible. This is why women who practice daily self-touch rituals often report not just better sex, but better sleep, better mood, and deeper emotional connection. Their body is literally bathing in oxytocin every night. I want you to understand another critical truth. Self-perception changes everything. If you don't feel sexy in your own skin, no amount of touch will fully reawaken desire. That's why we need to address mindset, because the brain decides what is sexy before the body responds. But before mindset, let's deepen the sensory training toolkit. Here's a progression you can follow. Week 1, awareness. Focus only on noticing sensations: warm, cool, soft, firm. 10 minutes, 3 nights a week. Week 2, expansion. Add in textures: silk, cotton, feather, even rougher fabrics. Glide them over your skin. Notice how each feels. This increases the variety of nerve activation. Week 3, erotic integration. Begin incorporating erogenous zones: neck, inner thighs, breasts. Do not rush. Focus on the quality of sensation, not the outcome. This teaches your brain to associate slow touch with arousal again. Week 4 and beyond, partner practice. If you have a partner, invite them into the ritual. Teach them how to vary touch, pressure, and tempo. Communicate clearly. I like this pressure. Slower here, lighter there. This not only retrains your nerves, it retrains your relationship. One of my patients, a 58-year-old woman who hadn't felt sexual desire in over 5 years, began this practice. At first, she felt nothing. She almost gave up, but I told her to stick with it. By week 3, she noticed her skin tingled more with touch. By week 5, she reported feeling aroused spontaneously during the day, something she hadn't felt in years. By week 8, intimacy with her partner felt exciting again, not because she forced it, but because she rebuilt her sensory pathways. This can be your story too. Now let's tie everything together into what I call the Sexy Again blueprint. Here's a simple daily structure. Morning: libido smoothie. Blueberries, flaxseed, maca, dark chocolate, almond milk. 5 minutes of squats or pelvic exercises. Midday: 20 minutes of walking or strength training. Prioritize nitrate-rich foods like spinach and beets in your lunch. Evening: light yoga or stretching to reduce cortisol. Journaling 3 pleasurable body experiences. Night: 2-minute sensory ritual with oil massage and temperature play. Magnesium tea or calming herbs to support sleep. Mirror affirmation before bed. This is not overwhelming. It takes less than 30 minutes total, scattered through your day. And yet it addresses every layer of desire: hormonal, circulatory, sensory, psychological. I want you to understand something as we close. Feeling sexy again after 50 is not about chasing youth. It's about reclaiming your body with wisdom. It's about using the science we now understand, hormones, nerves, mindset, to unlock desire in a way that's deeper, more powerful, and more sustainable than anything you felt in your 20s. Sexy is not an age. Sexy is a practice. So tonight, when you go to bed, don't say, "I'm too old." Don't say, "It's gone." Instead, take 2 minutes for yourself. Touch your skin. Breathe deeply. Speak kindly to your body. That small action is the seed. Tomorrow, feed it with movement, with nourishing foods, with awareness. Within weeks, you'll feel the shift, and within months, you'll realize that desire never left. It was only waiting for you to awaken it. You are not done. You are not broken. You are ready. And it starts tonight.